I really believe that from the beginning, um, I felt that our friendship was very, very deep. And when we decided that we wanted to get married, I knew it was going to be, I already knew at that point that you were going to be my best friend. It just be, and let me just describe what that means to me. The best friend idea is someone I can be completely vulnerable with, I can be transparent with. I know that you will not judge me, that you will love me. Um, we have similar um, we have similar ways of enjoying life. We love these days. We love sitting out on the deck and just listening, talking, sharing, eating, drinking, whatever. Those kinds of things I knew were going to be a part of our relationship. So you can use different words to define this, but it's very much like a best friend. And
What's the difference between a best friend and a really great marriage?
probably for me, it's no different. Um, I guess we could say that with best friends in general, you're not going to go to bed with them.
Yes.
Whereas, whereas being a best friend as a married couple is a whole different story because we can experience all those things that are defined by best friend in many ways.
Yeah, it's interesting
So
for me because I've been talking about intimacy in our friendships for so long. The title of this podcast is Frientimacy. And back, 15 years ago, I remember just being like, we need more frientimacy in our friendships. And people just so equate intimacy and sex with each other all the time. And I was just like, no, no, no. Like, one can be an expression of the other, but they're not synonyms. And talking about how we need more intimacy in our platonic relationships. But it is really interesting because when you just start looking at intimacy, they are very similar, whether it's romance or platonic. I would say it's the highest level of consistency, the highest level of vulnerability, and the highest level of positive expression. Obviously, like how we express ourselves with positive expression and how we have pleasure, how we have enjoyment and love will look different in a platonic relationship than a romantic relationship. So like how we do those three things might look a little bit different, but I would be like, those are, yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with you that the strongest friendships, if they have that frientimacy, will look a lot like the strongest marriages. Obviously, just different expressions of like how we live out those things together, and they have different components.
mhm,
But
mhm.
yeah, we live in a world where half of everybody feels like they are married, but they don't feel like they're married to their best friend. And in fact, one of the studies I saw said that 64% of men feel that they're married to their best friend, but only 48% of women listed their spouse as their best friend. So I found that very fascinating that that's a pretty big chunk of more men. It doesn't surprise me. As a man, any guess why you think that is?
Yes, I think that a lot of men are raised to not have intimacy with other men. And by intimacy, I mean just being very vulnerable and transparent.
Frientimacy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for intimacy. Um, and I think as a result of that, the only thing left is the person that they are wanting to have a relationship with. And um, so the men get together and they laugh and they joke and have a lot of different kinds of conversation, but oftentimes there isn't the vulnerability or the intimacy that could be possible for men to have, so that they have best friends where they can actually go. And this is the big issue for me is we learned, you and I learned from the very beginning of our relationship and our marriage that you could not do everything for me and I could not do everything for you. Um, you can't have one person do everything that you're looking for.
And we're
And
idealists, so that was a
yeah,
hard thing to
yeah,
admit.
exactly. Yeah, for sure. But we've both chartered paths that include our friends that are very, very close. I have two of my best friends. They're two. That's all I need for best friends. But I have a wider circle of men that I really enjoy too. But it's I mean, those close friends to me have been such empowering for me, and I wasn't always that way. So I realized that I will never want to be without a best friend. And these two men that are best friends for me are just fantastic. They love me, they know everything about me, and they don't judge me, but they can also hold up a mirror for me. And sometimes couples don't want to be they don't want that mirror to be held up to them. They're thinking, oh man, she's like judging me on this one. She just calls it the mirror or whatever. Not everyone
Was that
will
about me?
want
Are you
that.
making a statement? Do you feel judged by
No, no,
me?
no. I'm saying exactly. Yeah, that the beauty is when you can do that with your spouse or your loved one. And so all that to say, we can't do everything. So friendships are really valuable because my two best friends see me in a whole different way than you see me, and I really respect their perspective, even though they may not know me in every area of my life like you do. It's incredibly empowering to me. So
For sure. For sure. And
yeah.
I would say our marriage is stronger for you having those best friendships and me having that
Hmm.
too, and we can get to that in a minute. But for sure, I agree with you. When I look at the discrepancy between the 64% of men who claim their spouse is their best friend and only the 48% of women, I do think we live in a world where often for men the only place they are vulnerable is in their marriage, and so they will feel closer to that person than anybody else
Hmm.
and name that more. A lot of the women who I know would say they enjoy their marriage, but I have friends who would not name their spouse as their best friend, and it would come down to that vulnerability piece. It would come down to feeling like that spouse is either not interested in hearing all the drama of their lives, or isn't, just isn't have the capacity, or isn't just kind of isn't showing up in a way that leaves that my friend feeling like they really, really, really want to know them. So they are good partners, they are good parents, they love each other so much and have what you would call a really good marriage. But at least in my experience, and I'd love to hear from some of you listeners if you want to leave comments and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of the times where I feel like women would answer that question lower is usually feeling like the man or their spouse is not showing up with that interest in that vulnerability in that form, because you guys haven't been
Hmm.
modeled, encouraged, taught, given permission to
Hmm.
do that as well.